that over just a little bit. There. All right. Welcome, everybody. So today we got some special stuff going on. It's a little bit of an older printer, but it's still a pretty good printer. And it might just be the best buy for you to get into resin printing. Again, even though it's a little bit older technology, it still will print way better than most FDM printers, definitely in its price range. So we'll go through some of the specs and everything here in a little bit. First, I'm just going to, kind of chit chat and let everybody jump in here, and we'll probably get this stream going in the next probably 15 minutes or so. Good evening, Comics, Gus, Stephen, Vincent, good morning. And hello, TikTok land. So we are multi-streaming on platforms. We are live streaming on Facebook. We are live streaming on Twitch. We are live streaming on Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok as well. So we are covering all the bases here. I hope that my stream is not glitchy because I am trying to download some stuff right now. So I don't think it'll be an issue, but hopefully it's not. So anyway, how is everybody today? It is a wonderful Monday night here in Chicago. So yeah, it's been pretty good so far. Now the question is, what resin do we want to use? You know what? I think we're going to use the blue resin because I have a ton of this clear blue resin. Hello, Claire. How's it going? We do have a ton of this blue resin here. So what are we live and about tonight? So tonight we're going to be unboxing the Geeetech Alkaid printer. It is a small resin printer, a budget-friendly printer. Again, it is a little bit older tech because it is a 2K screen. However, it is a budget printer. That's more or less what we're going for on this. Not saying that it can't print what most printers can do now, but we'll get into that as I'm hiccuping. We'll get into that throughout the little showcase here. You just bought a 6K Anycubic? Yay. Well, that's good. That's good. Those are pretty good printers. Let me get the Facebook going because I can't see everybody's name on here as usual. So let's go into here. Let's go into there. All right, there we go. We'll pin this to the top. Okay. All right, so we are all set. Hello, Eric. How are you? It didn't come with a power supply, though. That's not very good. Hello, hello. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for joining. How's it going, Luna? See, there's quite a few people on here. Yeah, we're going to let some people come in. We'll start it in the next 5 minutes. How about that? I know I said 15 minutes, but yeah. Yes, this is a new printer. It isn't really a new printer. It's been out for a little while, just not really marketed in any way, to be honest. So, what's up, Jerry? How's it going? How's it going, Eric? Gus? I've been waiting on the fence about getting a resin printer. Well, this might tip you over because for the price that these things are going for, that's a really hard thing to pass up. So, what's up, John? How's it going? I'm used to 3D printers, first resin. Sweet. New printer day. Yes, it is. Sorry, I'm trying to manage TikTok and the other platforms here. But we are multi-streaming right now. It looks like we got about 10 people in here. 1 person on Twitch, 3 people from YouTube, 2 people from the group, 3 people from my personal page. And then we have 7 people over in TikTok land. Am I streaming on YouTube? Yes, I'm streaming on all the platforms. Basically, if it has the ability to go live, I'm there, except for Instagram. That's the only one that I'm not on right now. But yeah, if you can go live and share it out to people, then I'm pretty much live on there. Which I could probably go live on Instagram on my other phone here. Okay. Cool. By the way, don't forget to like and share this out for your friends if they'd like to see and get some information about this printer. That would be much appreciated, but wouldn't be a stream without our complimentary Mexican Coke, get our day started. Our night started, I should say. All right, we are going to take off the watch here. We're going to take off the ring, just in case we need to put some gloves on and whatnot. But we should be all right. Okay, so just going in through some information here. So I have all the information that you guys would need to get it situated here. UV blocking cover. Okay. All right. I think we're all set up here. Now, I did have a worry because this says V220 on it, and I'm hoping that's not voltage 220, but I think that's somebody else's sticker. So we'll have to see. I really hope not, because if it is the case, well, then I'll send it off to somebody else. So, but there is going to be some announcement here throughout the unboxing and everything. So, what's up, Scenic? How's it going, man? Thanks for joining. All right, so we're about 2 minutes away from starting this stream. I think you guys have heard me talking enough here. Get everything situated and start this unboxing. All right, so first and foremost, I wanted to let everybody know that this is actually a paid, I guess, kind of advertisement for a video. It is the first one I've done. I don't know if it'll be the only one I do, but I just wanted to give you guys that heads up that that's exactly what's going on. Geeetech did pay to have this essentially reviewed, but we're going to do an unboxing first before we do the review. But they are paying for both of the unboxing video and the review, as well as send over the machines for us to check out. Now, why is there 2 boxes here? Well, originally they had sent me one, and I wasn't going to be able to get around to it because I just don't have that in the time frame. So they sent me another one so I can actually do this. And so with that being said, we're probably going to end up giving away one of these. I have to figure out exactly how we're going to do it, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna do a giveaway for one of these, just because why not? And at some point we'll probably end up giving away this one as well, because this is a paid kind of promotion type thing. I cannot accept any money for these. The only type of money that I can accept for these is the shipping costs. That's it. But other than that, the machines are free and clear. So that's basically it. But I wanted to let you guys know that this is exactly what's going on right now. So there's full transparency that this isn't just, your standard review. But again, with that being said, as I've stated, and I've stated several times, no matter who I talk to, no matter what exchanges hands, money, printers, you name it, anything that exchanges hands, I will be honest and true to the entire review and unboxing process. So it is what it is, and that's it. I'm not going to change it. Nothing's going to change my mind about it. So they are aware of it. You guys are aware of it. Everything is all out in the open. So again, this is the first time that this is being like paid advertisement. So I'll agree full transparency if you pick me. What's up, Ashley? How's it going? So yeah, we're really only going to unbox one of these, but I wanted to showcase that they did send 2 boxes here. And again, we're probably going to end up giving away one of these printers because I'll be honest, I don't really need them. I barely have space here. And in fact, I added another rack to the wall back here just out of sight. Yeah, the wife's not too happy about that. But I'm hoping that it's a temporary. Actually, I'm planning on it being a temporary solution, but we'll see. So we're going to take these down. Open up this box. And let's see. These are both B17s, so these are exactly the same units. Get out our trusty knife. You know what? We're gonna put you guys right up and close on the StreamYards here. Let's see if we can back off here. Oop, that's not what I wanted. There we go. So let's put you down a little bit and off to the side there. There we go. That's a little bit better for you guys at least. Sorry for those who are in TikTok land. I'm kind of limited on the abilities of what I can do. So let's put this over on the chair here. All right, so we have our user manual. This is the version 1.1 manual. Don't know why there would even be a 2.0 or whatever. We do have a little thank you card from Geeetech or Geeetech, however you want to call it. And it basically just tells you, hey, you can join our Facebook group and thank you for purchasing our printer, yada, yada. We don't have to really worry about that. All right, so first bag, we have our scraper. Looks like we have a pair of tweezers, and we have a generic USB drive, as well as looks like just one Allen key and 2, I'm guessing, bolts for the vat. What are we unboxing? We are unboxing the Geeetech Alkaid Resin 3D printer. YouTube is behind a few seconds. Yeah, it usually happens like that, unfortunately. We have our power supply. I don't think I'm going to utilize that because we do have a power supply hooked up over here. But let's take a look here. This is packaged very, very well. I will say that. One of the better packaged printers I've had in a while. Definitely very thick foam padding, and it is clamshelled, as you can see. Like that's pretty thick foam there. That's a good packing job right there. I like that. And inside we have our actual power supply, which is a AC DC 12 volts 5 amp adapter. And we have the resin printer. All right, that's it. All right, thanks, guys. No. I keyed. All right. Let's get back into here. All right. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We have some plastic wrap on here. So let's take off the hood. Ooh, I like this color. This is a very, very vibrant blue color. Reminds me of like the old Anycubic Photon setups. So that is very, very nice. I like that a lot. Let's take the power cord, plug it in, get us all situated here so we can move this up and get it started. We have our power. And we'll turn it on. Oh, loud noises. Loud noises. Okay, so we have a tools menu, system menu, and a print menu. So settings, we're just going to go into here, and we need about TP adjust. So I'm guessing that's touch pressure adjust. I'm guessing. We have our network. Does this have Wi-Fi? This is hysterical, though. This has literally an Internet Explorer icon for the internet. Who uses Internet Explorer? Nobody. Nobody. Let's put you guys back up over here. There we go. There we go. What's the coolest feature of this printer? Its price point. And I will get to that in a second. All right. Now, there are some other cool things, but the price point is definitely one we're going to touch on. Okay, so it's not in here. We don't have to worry about that, but I am very interested about that internet. I wonder if this has the ability to connect to the internet, maybe via USB. Now, I will say that everything is in the back, which I kind of like. I know a lot of people don't like having USBs in the back, but this one has it directly in the back. The biggest thing that I have a gripe about most 3D printers is having them in the front here. As much as they're nice, I use these specific type of sand discs, and they stick out pretty far. So if you hit them, you're gonna have a bad day. So, all right, let's go to tools. There's our set Z exposure test, clean vat, and our manual Z adjust. 10 millimeters is our normal. Okay, let's go ahead and bring this up. Oh, so this is not leveled from the factory. So you can clearly see that this is not leveled because this is not tightened down at all. Which I guess is not terrible because that makes you level it from the get-go. So it makes you learn it. Not the end of the world. It's just I'm used to seeing most printers leveled from the factory. Some dust and debris. This has got a very interesting build plate / leveling system. Like it's a 4-point leveling system, but it looks really, really weird compared to most of the printers that I've used. So this is a plastic vat setup, and I believe this is an extra fat, or is this just cover? No, it's just cover. So we're going to remove the covers off of this. If I can get my fingers in here, which, I never can. Go. Oh, good bet. So this is all plastic. So I'm just letting you know that right now that there is an all plastic setup on that. We're going to go ahead and remove the dust protector on the screen. It looks all nice and new. So this is a 6-inch LCD screen. So your build volume, print size, whatever you want to call it, is very, very small on this printer. So this is nothing spectacular. As you can see, this is basically like my hand. That's basically your build volume, X, Y, and Z. Maybe a little bit taller on the Z, but essentially that's your print volume is X, Y, and Z. So just be aware of that. That is just very interesting that they don't have it tightened down already. But let's take a look at this. So this is very weird looking. The design on this, it's kind of cool. It's definitely different. It's not bad or anything. It's not what I'm used to seeing. For those who are out in TikTok land, it's got like a little trough in the center here and everything, and then it's got just a very interesting like arm that sits on it. It's very, very, very interesting. Okay, So let's go ahead and take out our screws and our Allen keys so we can adjust this. And we'll also take out our USB drive. We'll take out everything. I do like that they included some tweezers on that. Most companies do not. It's not the end of the world, but it's just something that you don't usually see. So, all right. So we have our printer, the U-disc, USB drive, wrench, tweezers, power adapter, and our power cord. This is basically instructions on how you need to set everything, your exposure times, blah, blah, blah. System menus, how to start printing, and our leveling the build plate. So it tells us to turn it on, fix the resin tank on the machine. That's a new one. So this levels in the tank, which I'll be honest, I've heard some people do that before. I personally have never done that. So it's just a little weird to see that. I usually use a piece of paper and just kind of level it that way. But we're going to do it by the instruction booklet and see how that goes. But yeah, it basically says first connect the machine to the power supply, tighten the build plate, rotary knob, fix the resin tank to the platform. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. This is kind of nice because these screws, they actually stay on the printer the entire time. You never have to really remove them. You just have to loosen them, because there are these locking areas on the actual vat, so it kind of locks into the back there. There is also a minimum and max fill level, so it looks like we're probably at about, I'd say about 300 milliliters to maximize this vat. Because I get hair all over it, because that's typical of me. Anyway, yeah, so it goes 120, 180, 240, and max. So I'm guessing around 300 is the amount. So we're going to slide that in, and we're going to screw these all the way down. I do wish these might have been a little bit taller, or might have been a little bit bigger. These are a little small for my bear claws, but they'll be okay. I mean, this is not meant to be a beefy printer or anything like that. Clean this off as best as I can. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and level this now. It says loosen the 4 leveling screws. So I don't know if that was supposed to come like that from factory, but it did. So again, I'm used to it being pre-leveled, and you can level it if you want. But it basically says enter the Z menu, click on home, and then we are going to, while pressing the top of the build platform, so essentially you're gonna spock it, do the V, and we're basically gonna hold it down, or you can do the rocker, you can do that and press it down, and that's basically how we're gonna tighten the build plate here. So. Screw this one in a little bit, just so we have it. I don't want these super loose. I just want to be able to do this pretty quickly. Okay. We're going to definitely disable that sound. I hope you guys are still there. I don't see anybody in chat. All right. Yeah, you guys are still there. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and tighten this down. tighten them by hand as much as we possibly can, and then we're going to actually tighten it down. Okay. Now that those two are pretty much tight, the other ones are going to be super easy to tighten down. Get them situated. Okay. So now we're all good. Basically, there is a uUbox plugin for this. Okay, we're going to do that. So is there a settings for this, or do I just manually input it? What does it use? That's the $1,000,000 question. So we're going to throw this USB stick into the computer really quick and see what file system this uses. See if we need to create a new file system. Okay, so we do have some test prints on here. Test model, slicing software, user manual. Okay, so we have a dragon, a nine tails. Ooh, we get some good test prints on here. Okay, so let's see what our output file is. See if we need to create something. So it uses a .ctb file. So this is basically, this utilizes uUbox 100%. So I'm going to copy all these files as I normally do, and I'm going to put them in my printer folder in case anybody ever needs stuff off of the USB drive. I always copy stuff from the USB drive to tell me what it is. I'm here. Okay. No, it's just everybody else. So, yes, this is going to be a great beginner printer. So again, we'll get more into that. I just want to start printing with it before I start chatting about the information about this printer. So yeah, let's go ahead. I'm not too worried about getting things right now. Did I even copy that? I don't even think I did. I think I just created the folder and let it be. Printers, printer info, Geeetech. Yep, I didn't even copy it. Okay, we'll let that copy for a quick second here. It'll probably take copying 37 items. It's going to take about a minute. So, all right. You're here too? Okay, cool. Wow, there's like nobody on today. I guess I picked a terrible day to do this, huh? Everybody's kind of burnt out for Monday. I mean, it's not super late. Hello, Mr. Farmer. I am a Mr. Farmer as well. All right. Okay, so all those are copied over. Ooh, I think I want to do the dragon. That looks like a cool print. Definitely feels like Monday. Yeah, for sure. All right. So that's all up. What's happening? We're just unboxing a fairly new printer. It's called the Geeetech Alkaid. It is a budget-friendly printer for those who are getting into resin printing. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to raise this up. And we're going to put some resin in here. What resin? I don't know. Oh, I said blue. Yeah, that would look good. So, because I have a bunch. Oops, that's clear. I do not want that one. I want something that is blue. I think this is blue. I'm blue, I believe. Nope, that's definitely clear. See, the problem is I got a bunch of these bottles. They were mislabeled. Even though they say blue, they're actually clear. So I got to check what's what, because the chances of me using blue are very, very slim. And I don't want to use up the white, or the clear, I mean. So let's find one that's open. Oh, that's not open. I know I opened a bunch of these things. Oh, you know what? They might be on the other side of the shelf here. Go back on the other side. Yeah, there they are. Okay. I know I had an open one. And this one is definitely blue. So we'll shake it up a little bit. Shake, shake, shake. Hello there. Definitely feels like Monday, so I've heard. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely blue. See the blue? I'm blue. I believe I will die. It's actually so one of my followers deemed this toilet bowl cleaner blue because when it prints, it literally looks like toilet bowl cleaner blue. So it is a very vibrant blue. We'll just max this boy out. Yeah, that's good enough. Hopefully I didn't put too much in. We'll soon find out. All right. So we have our exposure tests and everything. We're good. We're not going to test anything with that sense. There is one thing I wanted to try and disable, and that was the sound. By sound, my most annoying thing that I hate about resin printing. All right, so we have a lion, a deer, a nine-tails. I thought there was a dragon on here. Oh, and there's an Eiffel Tower and a dragon. Yeah, I think we're going to print the dragon. Sorry, you guys don't have a say in this one. This dragon looks too good. So it says 2 hours and 52 minutes on this. So that's not too bad. We're going to go ahead and hit print. Are we going to spill anything? Nail biter. Woo! You're right at the top there, man. I'm going to take just a smidgen out of there. We're literally like right at the top. Thank God for emergency syringes that I use for resin welding. I'm going to take at least one more out of there. So the problem is this is not level. So it's so just to show you the color, this is the color of that resin. Like I said, toilet bowl cleaner blue, right? I mean, he's not wrong. Like 6 inches. Let's see here. Yeah, so this is a very small printer. It's literally the size of your hand. That's your build volume on it. All right. So now we're going to get to the information of the printer and why this might be a good printer for somebody who's getting into resin printing. Okay. This is the main thing about this printer. Yes, it's a budget printer, nice and blue. Looks like cyan from Arion. Yes, it kind of does. Okay, so let's pull up the information here. So the thing that's really, really good about this printer is the fact that it is only $100 from Geeetech.com. And with shipping, at least on here, it's telling me it's only $12.97. So for $115, you can get yourself a very budget resin printer. And again, you're not breaking the bank with this, because even on the website, there's several different iterations that you can get of this printer. So what I mean by that is there's add-ons. So you can get just the printer itself, which is $100. You can get the printer and the wash and cure, which is a really, really nice wash and cure, actually, for $199. So that's only $200 just to get into full-on resin printing right out of the gate, which is a really, really good deal. Or you can even add the printer and 4 bottles of resin, and I believe that's 4 kilograms. Let me double check. I don't think it says, actually, but let's see. Yeah, so it doesn't really say. It just says 4 bottles of transparent resin. So, but even if so, that's still a pretty good deal, even if it's 500 grams or a kilogram. That's still a good deal. So either way you look at it. Now, from looking at this, it looks like it is a kilogram, but I could be reading it wrong. So just take it as, we'll take it as the lower one. We'll do 500 grams. So that's 2 kilograms of resin with the printer for $159. Look at this little tiny hood, man. I remember having printers like this back in the day. There we go. Little tiny printer. That thing's so cute. It's been a while since I've had a small printer like that. Like, I don't think you guys understand. It is half the size of my smallest printer I have, which is the Frozen Sonic Mini 8KS. That is the smallest printer I own. And it literally like dwarfs it, because these are much larger screens than that is. And they're larger printers in general. They're just much beefier. So, but again, this is meant more for budget printing out of anything. So, yeah, the printer, like I said, is only $99, or you can get a wash and cure with it for $200, or you can get the 4 bottles of resin with the printer for $159. And then if you wanted to add on the wash and cure, it'll be another $100, I think it is, or something like that, for that upgrade. But what I wanted to touch base on was what the printer can do. So this is a 2K monochrome screen LCD printer. Now, I know in the world of everything, everybody's trying to sell 7K, 8K, 12K printers. That's all in fine and dandy. But the thing is in my opinion, I've been doing this for a long time. It's very minimalistic that you will see the difference between a 2K, 4K, 6K, and even an 8K. Unless you're doing like insanely fine detail and you're bringing down the layer height a lot, or if you're using a macro lens. That's the only time that you are going to see a major difference between any of those printers. Because here's the thing. The larger the printer, the wider the resolution goes. So I have to look and see what resolution this is, if it even tells me. But this should be at about 40, maybe even in the 30s for this resolution. So this can produce really, really fine details compared to like that printer or any of these printers on the bottom here, just because it's a smaller screen. So the resolution is much higher on these smaller printers. So you kind of get a one-up, but a downside. So the downside is you get a really small printer. The upside is you might get something that produces a little bit higher quality on it. So in terms of build volume, like I said, it's basically you put your hand together and that's your X, Y, and Z. That's essentially what it is. So your build volume on this is 82 millimeters by 130 millimeters by 190 millimeters. So that's pretty tall actually for these smaller printers. Usually they would max out at about 180 on these smaller printers. So that's nice that you gain an extra, 10 millimeters on it. As much as that might not seem like a lot, to some it does mean a lot. So 1,000-gram each bottle. All right, cool. Thanks for letting me know. I didn't see it say that on there, but maybe it did. I don't know. I crossed over it. So that's a pretty good deal. $159 for a printer and 4 bottles of resin that will literally last you for probably a couple months printing with this thing. Like, you can print a lot of stuff with that. What's up, Jay? How's it going? So yeah, it's got a 6.08 inch 2K monochrome LCD screen, and says HD definition resulting in up to 0.51 millimeter high precision. So this one's actually kind of stuck at 0.5. Now, you probably can tune it down to a 0.03, but that's kind of like pressing the limitations of the machine. So you just got to be very careful with doing that. It just might not print very well. This does have a little 3.5 inch LCD screen, so it's very small, very compact. Again, this printer is very, very small. Like, this is my hand up against the hood of this, and it's pretty much like it almost takes most of it. So a very, very small, compact printer. Yeah, that's not exactly the X and Y, so slightly different. We're looking for the Z. The Z is the important one because that's really going to be the main resolution of it. So, but guessing on this, it's probably going to be like somewhere in the 30 to 40 micron, I'm guessing. Just putting it out there. We do have the Matrix UV LED lights, which is your standard lighting system for these type of printers. There is a nice aluminum case all around this. So while we do have some plastic parts on here to save some weight, most of the machine, besides the vat, is pretty much metal or aluminum. That's very, very light, but high efficiency for cooling and keeping the machine cool. So quick FEP replacement. Like I said, this is a system where the FEP and the vat are plastic. Now, they are usually ABS molded or some sort of type of molding, so they do hold up. So it's not super, super terrible. But there are some concerns that they might leak over time. But in my opinion, I've never had these things leak. I've actually had a metal vat leak than I have a plastic vat. But what's nice about these is they have a quick change setup. So you take the vat out, you remove the FEP film, and then you put the new one in. You don't have to do any tensioning, nothing like that. It's super, super proprietary, which might not be the best thing for you, but in terms of usability and just easeability, it makes it a lot easier, trust me, because trying to tension a FEP is not the easiest thing. You can over-tighten it, you can under-tighten it, you can cause premature FEP failure doing that. I've seen it happen thousands of times. So it is very nice to have those premature or pre-tensioned FEPs that you just basically replace on it. We do have our UV blocking hood, which is a lot darker than our normal hoods that I see like that. Like, comparing that to the Anycubic one that I have over here, that is much, much darker than the Anycubic. So that actually probably stands up to the UV blocking thing. And actually, we can kind of test that out. So let's go ahead and pull this off. I do have a UV LED light, so we can see how well it blocks it, actually. And it does. So you don't see any really shine of UV LED through that. It blocks it perfectly, exactly how it's supposed to be. So it actually does block the UV from getting into your printer. All right. Moving on. So it does boast that it can go up to 8x anti-aliasing, which is really, really nice, because a lot of these smaller printers, they do not have the ability to have anti-aliasing in. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, well, what the hell is anti-aliasing or anti-aliasing? It's basically the way that it pixelates the image that displays on the LCD screen when you're printing. So this helps out with dimensional accuracy. This helps out with things curing into another part. So you guys may or may not have heard me talk about clear resins and how articulated prints tend to bond to each other when you're using clear resins. I mean, that is a byproduct of clear resins. It's very hard to get away from that. But that is one thing that you can utilize to try and fix or resolve that issue. I'm not saying it's going to be 100%, but it's definitely going to make it a lot easier to break it away from it and, possibly salvage the print. Whereas if you never used it before and you just use the regular printer, it's just going to be fused together and it's going to be basically useless. So I can't tell you how many people have seen my old video that I put up a long time ago about the clear dragon that I printed on the M3 Max. And a ton of people have been asking me to purchase that file. Unfortunately, I don't have the rights to it. I can get the rights to it super easy. But, I can easily print something like that and showcase the difference between anti-aliasing and how it works and how it doesn't work. Is this a Sheet 2 board-based system? Yes, it is. Z-axis precision is 0.1. So that's the precision. We're looking for the microns that it can print at, the which I don't know if it says that here. So our LCD resolution is 2560 by 1620. So again, I think that's more, I have to look back, but I think that is somewhere between 30 and 40 microns. So I think that's not terrible in the realm of printing, especially for the price that you're paying for it. Let's see. I can easily look that up. Screen resolution size. What is that? That is 2560 by 1620. Let's see if I can find that. Mesh and micron chart. There we go. Not exactly what I'm looking for. Let's do no, that's not what I'm looking for. I know what the pixel per inch is. I know that. Okay, so a 6.6 inch is that four? So that's 4K is at 35 microns. So we're probably looking at like 40 microns. 4K, that's a 9.1 inch. So we're looking for. Trying to think, what is the. This might actually be 50 now that I think about it. Yeah, no, they don't. They probably won't post about that. which is very strange because that's the most important one. The X and Y resolution, like that's good. Since that's 0.51 millimeters, that's not terrible. But I'm trying to think who had a screen like this that was similar. I think it was the Elegoo Mars. Let's see here. So that's a 5.5 inch. So it's got to be under 47 because the original Elegoo Mars is a 5.5 inch 2K LCD, and that's an RGB screen, and that was at 47 microns. You know what? It might be. We'll find it. Do not worry, my friends. Mars 2, I think it is. That was when they started going to 6.08, I believe. It's a 2K mono LCD, 6.08. Yep, that's what we're looking for. So that is going to be... it doesn't say. I want to say it's probably going to be around 47. So upgrade to a 6.08. Okay. Fat screen. Okay. So it's 50 microns. But no, that's the X and Y. Why did they only go up based off the X and Y? That's very strange. But I want to say that it's 47 microns. Culminating lenses? I don't know what that is. I am smart, but not that smart. Okay. Box, Elegoo Mars, 47 microns. Yeah. So that X and Y should be 51, and it should be 47. So it's $100 at a limit time price. Web page says 50% off from $200. Let's double check here. Yeah, so I was not told that it is a limited time, but for the price. And if you want to get on it, that's a really good price. Now, I don't have any affiliate links or anything like that to this. There is a link down in the description on the YouTube video. Might even be ones on the Facebook that are there. But yeah, you guys can purchase them, and if they're not to your liking, you can always work with the company and see if there's something you can do. So what am I looking at? I am looking at a brand new resin printer that we just unboxed. It is called the Geeetech Alkaid. It is probably the cheapest resin printer that you can buy right now on the market. That is really, really compact. So if you're someone who is in a very small apartment, doesn't have a lot of space, you can basically utilize this very well to your abilities. So print with. So yeah. $5 coupon for new customers. So there you go. You could get it for $95 then. And they do ship from Canada and US. So I would guess that they do have a Canadian warehouse. So lenses that cause the light to be parallel. I couldn't tell if it has lenses over the LED array or just a black grid to fake culminating light. Let's take a look at that image here. So this has got a puck lighting system. Light source adopts 15 high power quartz UV lamp beads combined with the matrix lens made of professional optical materials. It makes the UV light irradiation on the LCD screen more uniform and higher intensity. Finally improve the speed and accuracy of printing effectively. So essentially, it looks like it has a diffuser over it. Judging by this, now I should have probably taken a look at it, but judging by the picture, you have the light box. Then above that is the cover for the light box with the lenses, and then there's a cover that says it goes over that. So judging by that, it looks like it does have a diffuser. So if that's the case, that's a good idea, because there was a huge issue back in the day with these LED matrix arrays, which I was never a big fan of. But there was a big thing about where they overlap. There was too much light not getting through, or there wasn't enough light getting through. That's the correct term. And basically what it would do is it would cause those lines to appear on your prints and be very soft, because while there was light getting to it, it wasn't properly enough. This was a big issue with the Elegoo Saturn printers back in the day, the original Saturn. And somebody developed a diffuser for it. And looking at this image, it looks like they might have incorporated that diffuser on it, which again, if they did, that is a fantastic thing, because not only does it utilize the lens matrix LEDs, it utilizes a refractive source to even out the LEDs and not have that issue ever. So that's really, really good. Do I have a referral code? I do not, unfortunately. Cool. I need to print some more with mine. I just need to learn slicing better. Slicing's not that hard. I would say orientation and supports are probably going to be your biggest two hurdles. And I know that might be what you mean in terms of slicing, so my apologies. But in my opinion, the best thing that you can do is always look for drip points. Take, for example, this screwdriver. Okay. I know that this screwdriver can probably print twice as fast, if not 3 times as fast, just like this, straight left and right. Okay. Pretty much like this on the build plate, right? That's the fastest that you can print it. The closer to the build plate, the less of Z height, the better, the faster the print. But that's not necessarily always the best option, because what happens in this, because there's divots in the back on the butt of this screwdriver, cooling effect will happen. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to tip this up and have it at an angle, so that way there's a resin dripping point. So when the print pulls off, there's a way for that resin to drip off naturally right off of the print back into the vat. And that will keep it from settling on there and either warping it or making it very soft, causing failures, you name it. So that's just one thing to try and get that situated. The other thing is supports. Now, I always tell people never ever rely on automatic supports. You can, but I never do. I always go back in. So for something like this is a very small item. So for this, I would probably do automatic supports with light supports. And then I'd come back in and I'd manually add some structured medium supports, either on the outside of it or straight down the middle or something like that. Just a handful of heavier supports to kind of grip it a little bit. But for the majority, the light supports are going to do the heavy lifting for me, or the heavy holding. But the medium supports are actually going to be the one that grips it and keeps it there, while all the other supports kind of make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. So that's what I normally do. I will tell you pretty much 99% of the time, I never, ever touch heavy supports. I can only think of twice in the, 5 years of resin printing I've been doing, that I've utilized heavy supports for a print. And that was only because I knew that the print was going to be a solid print. It was going to be insanely heavy, and I was just going to need to use that in order for that print not to fail. And sometimes even then it would fail. So drain holes kind of confuse you. Helpful info. You're welcome. So drain holes are pretty easy. Let's utilize my guide. Okay. So with small items, I don't ever really suggest using drain holes. If you're doing like miniatures, like little tiny guys like this, these little tiny guys, don't use drain holes. The only time that you should use a drain hole is if the print is going to take up probably half of the build plate, I'd say. So, for example, I printed a miniature version of me on a large printer. Well, obviously, I didn't want to print him solid because this would probably be like, I don't know, maybe 6 kilograms of resin. Probably not, but it'll be something ridiculous, like 3 or 4, something up there. So what I did is I printed him like this. And when he came out, I put drain holes on the bottom. Now I put 2 drain holes on each of his feet because you want to allow air to allow that to drain out and drip out. So it's just that it should be a natural occurrence. You shouldn't have to go in there and actually have to force it to drip out any of the wash or anything. And it is important to wash the inside. A good keynote is to do 3 or 5 millimeter hole. If your print does not allow that, then I don't think that you should be putting any drain holes in it. That's really my 2 cents on the subject. If it can't fit a 3 or even a 5 millimeter hole, don't put a drain hole on it. There's absolutely no need. I know you're trying to save resin, and resin's very expensive, but there comes a point where it's a 50-50 thing. So that's why I don't ever suggest utilizing that. Like this, these are 4 or 5 millimeter holes. So that's pretty much where I put them in, as you guys can see right there on the feet. So, and you can pretty much put them anywhere. You can put them at the tip and at the back, anywhere you want. Now there is a way to put more drain holes on stuff if you really want to. The cool thing about uUbox is it does allow you to save the drain holes, so you can actually plug up the drain holes, or you can just delete those drain holes, the caps, for the drain holes. You can delete those and not print them. You don't have to. You can utilize the whole syringe and UV light method to fill those. But kind of going back to the reason why I say 3 millimeter or 5 millimeter, because that's the smallest that you can buy for an LED, and still be effective to utilize on the inside, because you do have to try and cure the inside of your print. The other thing is when you're hollowing a print, I don't really suggest going under 3 millimeter wall thickness. Anything below that, you're getting in the territory of, if I drop this in any way, shape, or form, it's going to shatter into a million pieces. So I don't really suggest going under 3 millimeter wall thickness when you hollow a print. Most of the time it's 3 to 4 millimeter for me. But I'd say 95% of the time it's 3.5 millimeter for wall thickness for me. So there's still a good chunk of resin that's being used, but it's not nearly as much as a solid print would. Also, a tip, I don't ever suggest using infill on resin prints. I know that can be done. I personally never successfully done it. It is very hard to plan a path for drainage to allow supports on the inside to be in there, infill to be on the inside. So it's vastly different. So in my opinion, you either go solid or you go hollow. That's it. And then you put supports on the inside. Just leave the supports on the inside. Don't ever touch them. Just leave them there. If they're not hurting you and you can't get to them, you don't have a big enough hole to get them out, just leave them in there. I'm sure this print, when I did it and hollowed it, you can probably have supports in it. If I cut them in half, these probably got supports. But a good way to go around that is support your print first, then go back and hollow it out. That way, there's no supports on the inside. But again, that's not always the best case scenario, because, you may need to have something supported on the inside. Like if I was twice as fat, I probably need to have supports in this model, regardless of orientation or anything, because of how much I'm trying to utilize that space without supports. So it's just a natural thing that's going to fail, unfortunately. So if I print something solid, does it cure in the middle? So you're actually curing layer by layer. So it cures every single layer. The only reason why the outside is not properly cured is because it's still dripping with that resin that is there. Whereas when you cure a solid print, it's literally cured layer by layer by layer, because it's butting itself up right against the LCD, and that LCD is shining that UV LED right at it. So it's literally curing every single layer that you do. So if you're worried about, oh, well, my solid print is going to be soft in the middle, I've never, ever seen that, ever. It's not ever been a thing, at least that I've seen. Could it be? Maybe. I don't know. I've never seen it. I've never heard of anything like that. I know several people have asked me that, but that's not something that I've ever seen or heard of when I've been resin printing. Because again, it's literally, you're crushing that thin layer of resin up against the LCD screen and the FEP, and it's literally like blasting light at it for 2 seconds or whatever, and curing that. So it should be good enough. 2.1 seems to work fine for me. Oh, for thickness, for wall thickness. So do you ever fill your prints with sand or anything and make it heavier? I've never done that, but I've definitely thought of that when I first started doing hollowing on prints, because there was a couple things where I wanted the base to be hollow because it was such a large piece that I didn't want to, use a kilogram of resin or 1.5 kilograms of resin. This was back when medium printers were big printers, like the Saturn, like that was a big printer. So I printed the base in hollow, and then I printed the model solid. So I was like, oh, this is going to be too top heavy. It's going to be like that. And so I was concerned about that and thinking about filling it with sand. And you definitely can do that. You can fill it with sand and you can plug the holes afterwards. You can easily do that. No problem. So thank you so much for explaining everything in a way that makes it easy to understand. Absolutely. Always here to try and get you guys printing with the best results that I can. So if I print myself, I'll need supports. If I print something solid, yeah, we already went over that. Looks so good. Yes, it does. Do you ever fill your prints with? We already had that. What PPE do you use or precautions do you take while printing? Well, while printing, I don't really take any precautions besides my active carbon filtration system. That's really about it. But for the most part, I do have goggles that I wear, depending on what I'm working with. Just because I've had isopropyl alcohol splash up. Well, actually, it was denatured alcohol at the time. I've had that splash up into my face. So even if I was wearing like glasses, it wouldn't really work. But these are really, really good because they fit. They have a seal around your face, so they definitely leave a mark on your face. These are just some DeWalt glasses that I bought off of Amazon. I think they were $10. They are worth every penny because they allow it to breathe, but yet still have a good enough suction to where nothing's going to get to your eyes. So this is definitely at least one PPE that you can take as a precaution. The second one is definitely gloves. I highly suggest Venom Steel gloves. These are on a whole nother level compared to like the typical blue gloves or clear gloves that everybody else uses. I understand money is tight, so people do buy the cheaper gloves. But trust me when I say this, these things are incredibly hard to destroy and break open. You really have to have like a razor sharp print in order to break these. They are definitely, I'd say, at least 3 times stronger when I'm working with prints over the blue or clear gloves, or really any other glove that I've used so far. They are a little bit more expensive, but they are worth it in the long run, especially to protect your hands. Now, talking about that, let's say something happens, you get something on you. The best option that you can do is run and wash yourself off. Wash your hands, wash your face, wash your eyes. Consistently do that over and over and over again if you do happen to encounter something in your face, on your hands, on your skin. Most of the time, people don't have a problem with it being on their skin, resin in general. I usually don't. There is one specific resin that I did have a reaction to, and that was the old version of the Anycubic Clear. Now, I have not used that since, but that was one of them that definitely irritated my skin. Now, when I say that, I mean, it's more or less it has a rash, like it just makes it itchy. But I have a sink right in the other room here, so if I need to utilize that for anything, I can just go and wash my hands. I have a nice soap in there with like an exfoliating bead in there, so it washes everything off and gets it really nice. It's stuff called Cherry Bomb. You can also use the orange soap. Those are very heavy in industrial usage type soaps. It's always nice to have those there. But yeah, that's something I do highly suggest looking into as well, just in case you need to do it, because there are some times where you might absolutely need it. But don't be afraid of the resin. Don't think like, oh my God, it's toxic. It's going to spill on my skin and it's literally going to eat away at me. No, I personally never seen that. It's not going to just hit your skin and just start eating away at things. That's not what resin does. If anything, it's kind of like it causes an allergic reaction out of anything. Okay. And it's like a skin irritant at the very, very maximum. Now, if you walk out into the sun with resin on you, you will have a very bad day. You can definitely get some 3rd-degree burns. And it's not like, oh, I'm just going to walk outside and it'll be okay. No, it'll hit you instantly. So whenever if you want to try out an experiment, okay, go and grab a cloth or a paper towel, drip some resin on it, and hit it with a UV flashlight, and then pick it up. Pick it up from underneath. You'll feel it's very hot underneath there because it literally the chemical process, it's almost like sulfur. It burns into it. So when you put it on your skin and you walk outside into any daylight, or even some LEDs can act up. Some of the clear resins that I've used in the past, the LED light that I have right here, which is basically a shop light, that has triggered an event to cure that. So you really do have to be careful when utilizing it. But again, these lights are kind of farther away, so they don't really deal with that. It was back when I had them much closer to me. They were like almost right at my head level. And I went and poured some resin into a cup because I needed an exact measurement, because this was before VATs had actual measurements on it. And so I poured it back in, and there was still a little bit of resin left in the cup. And I went to go do something really quick, come back 5 minutes later, and it's cured. It's hardened 100%. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So, but yeah, don't be super afraid of resin. If anything, cover your eyes. If you want, you can cover your mouth. I've definitely had resin in my mouth just from like touching my hands and stuff like that and going like this one time. It's happened. It gives me a nice burn on my lips, but all I do is I just walk over to the sink, I grab some water, and I just wipe it away a couple times, and it's gone. And that's it. And then the burning lasts for maybe a couple minutes, if that. But the worst experience I had is I was handling some denatured alcohol that thankfully I just filtered out. And I was on a live stream, and I went to go pick it up, and it dropped down and it splashed all the way up in my face. Now, at the time, I did have PPE for glasses, but they were like your typical glasses, and that wouldn't have helped me in any way because it went up my face. It would have went up into my glasses and probably made things worse and actually like splashed it directly into my eyes. So either way, I was going to have a bad day, even if I had my PPE on there. It is what it is. Shit happens, and that's why I bought those lenses. But again, I spent probably a good half an hour cleaning out my eyeballs. So I did 2 cleans where I just like splashed water in there and I just batted my eyes. Did that. And then on the third one, I actually filled up my sink and I literally dipped my head in water. And then I opened my eyes and just kind of swished my head around so we can wash the solution out of there. Now they still were burning very, very badly because, I mean, you're putting denatured alcohol in your eye and it dries up your eye cavity because that's what it does. It dries up any type of liquid that's in there. So my eyes couldn't properly like coat themselves quick enough. It kept on drying it up because it was still there. So after a while, I did end up going to the emergency room and they just said, yeah, you're good. You just have to, maybe put some special eye drops in it for the next day, but you're good. There's no harm, no foul. You did everything that you needed to do, and that's pretty much it. So that's my suggestion is don't take it too literal where you're afraid of handling resin. It's not as bad as everybody thinks. Some people are a little bit more I guess prone to the smell and the touch than others. Like my wife, if she touched resin, then she might not have a good day because she's very prone to like asthmatic touches and things like that. Not asthmatic. I said asthmatic. Allergic touches. So her skin is very sensitive. So some people might have a little bit more sensitivity than others. Really, if you want to take a risk, just dabble some on. Just take your finger and just dabble it on a little bit and see how it feels and see how it is. If you're a little worried about it, then get yourself some longer gloves. Get yourself the ones that go all the way up the arm and you'll be perfectly fine. But don't be super afraid of resin. It's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be. There are some definitely heavier duty resins out there if you're spending some bigger money on specialty resins, those you might have to take some extra precautions with. But for the most part, any resin that you get off of Amazon, they're pretty much all going to be the same. They're going to be similar formulations. So, I mean, touching them and having them on your skin, it's going to be a very minimalistic problem for you. But again, all you have to do is just wipe them off with some hot water and soap. You're good. So, good evening, Crystal. How's it going? I have a reaction to some cleaners. Wonder if resin is the same. You could give it a go if you want. If not, that's fine. Itchy, yes. Good to know. Or is ABS like, if you use resin prints outside, should I be looking for UV strength resin or heat resistant? Well, all resins are UV reactive resins. If you want to print the last, put a clear coat on it. Put a UV resistant clear coat on it if you're worried about it. Now, I know several people who have had prints out in the wild and they're perfectly fine, but over time, depending on how cheap the resins are, they will end up breaking down and they just end up destroying themselves. It is how it is. Water washable resin is probably the worst resin out there in terms of structural rigidity, longevity. Like, they just don't hold up. They're the worst resins out there. The resin printer by itself is $12.97 shipping. Yep. Do you have an active carbon filter that you'd recommend? I do my printing in a 15 by 15 room. So I'm pretty much in a 20 by 20 by 7 room, and I use a tower fan. I do have it linked in my bio on TikTok. So you'll have to scroll down a little bit, but I'm pretty sure I still have it up there. It's a newer version of mine. It's not as good, but it'll clear out the room at a good pace. They are a little bit pricey. They're about $200, but think about it this way. It's not just an investment for resin printing. It's an investment for your apartment, your room, whatever you're utilizing, because it's not just going to be used for filtering resin. It's going to be used for other particles in the air and stuff like that, because it is a HEPA and a carbon filter system. So it is a 2-in-1. And it does have a UV light, so it kills the germs coming in. So it's kind of a 3-in-1 system. But unfortunately, they don't make that model anymore, of course. But all the specs on there, I think the last one that we were reading was about 6 months ago, maybe longer. And basically it said a room of this size for the largest one that you can get would clear out the room in like 2 hours. Essentially, it would refresh in the room in a two-hour manner. So, which mine, I think, is half of that. I've been using ABS like setting for water washable resin. Is there a downfall to that? Yep. Water washable is probably the worst. I also have just a personal dislike for it because water washable is used very improperly. A lot of people think that they can just wash that resin in a sink, and that's not the case. Water washable resin, because the stuff that they use inside of water washable actually makes it even more toxic than regular resin. It's not like vastly more toxic, but it is more toxic. So, but I just have a personal dislike with it because of that, where people think that it's something that you can just wash with it. And I'm not going to call anybody out. I know it happens all the time. I see it happen all the time. But I want to just try and teach them and help them understand that that's not something that you should be doing. Plus, on top of it, to try and get rid of a water wash is about, 50 times harder, like 80 times harder than it is to get rid of an IPA wash or a denatured alcohol wash. So if I took these bins, which they hold 8,500 milliliters, I think it is. They hold 8,500 milliliters of wash. If I took those outside, one with water, one with denatured alcohol, and I just left them out in the sun, the denatured alcohol would probably be depleted by the end of the day. And the water would probably not even have a fifth of it depleted. in 2 days. So it's much harder to get rid of that stuff. So we used to have Formlabs resin printers at work. They were super messy. They can be. So resin printing in general is very messy. You just have to find your flow. And once you start finding your flow, then you get into a whole workload of how to properly manage the prints, and things will get less messy. So I'm cleaning same as I would with ABS in the alcohol tub, thankfully. Good. Oh, on top of it, water in these wash and cure buckets will actually destroy all of the metal parts in there. Same thing goes for mean green and simple green. They are even worse because they're very abrasive and they eat metal. So they will destroy those things. Like, these parts have been on these wash and cures since I got them. And that was, probably 2 years ago now. I've never replaced any parts. Now, I do have replacements. They did send them with the wash systems, but I've never had to replace them. Anybody else that I know that has used water washable resin or simple green or mean green, they've had to replace them already within 3 months of using it. So here I am 3 years into it. What is a good resin to start with? Well, really, that's going to depend on what you're printing with. That's the unfortunate downside of resin, is you're more looking for what type of resin you want to use for what you're printing. If you're using miniatures, definitely an ABS-like resin to start with. And really, I would just suggest that actually to be your starter resin. Standard resin is good. It prints fine, but it is still brittle at the end of the day. It's not as brittle as water washable resin, but it's brittle. Whereas ABS still has a little bit of give. Then there's like special ones where it's model resin, which is like ABS resin with a little bit more flexibility in it. So those are really for miniatures. And those have a lot more give. Like you can literally bend a guy like almost in half and he'll tweak back. So that's really, really nice. But yeah, definitely any ABS style resins. I'm going to start using the frozen ABS resins because they used to send me the 4K and the 8K resins. And the problem is they have great detail, but they're not the greatest. They don't hold up. They're very brittle because this is where the difference between FDM and resin really comes in, is because each and every type of resin has their plus and minuses. So it's like, okay, I have an ABS-like resin that has, like a little bit of hardness, but a lot of flexibility. So that's great, but the problem is you're using it in a part that you need to have for like working pieces, like a gear. It's not going to work out very well. It's literally going to like rattle the pieces because of the way that the chemicals makeup is of it. Then you have nylon, which is the opposite, where you have a very, very hard print, but not as flexible. So it's a very rigid print. And I know that might be kind of confusing to people. So ABS has a little bit of flexibility where you can bend it a little bit. So if you need to like fit something into a place or you need to screw something into it, you can do that. Whereas nylon, if you try and do that, you'll literally crack it into a million pieces. So it's more brittle in some effect than it is not. So that's where you really have to gauge on what you're printing with, what you're wanting to print with, and go from there. Because there's also like high temp resins, and high temp resins are great, but they're meant to be heat deflective. So that's a major thing that a lot of people get wrong with resin prints, with resin in general. High temp resins are not necessarily high temp. They are heat deflective. And that's why they usually specifically say HDT, heat deflective temperature, not heat resistant temperature. I have yet to see one that says heat resistant temperature, HRT. It's usually HDT. So again, that kind of goes back to that is specifically formulated to deflect the heat as best as it possibly can while still maintaining the structural integrity. But again, you're losing the flexibility of that print. So it's more like a nylon than it is an ABS resin. So it's like, okay, I can't really use this where there's vibrations and things like that. So because it'll literally vibrate into pieces. Where, if it's something that is stationary, okay, that might be a little bit better. So, and then there's things called like additives, like Geeetech Tenacious or 3DRS Sidekick. Those are flexible things, or Monicure 3D Flex 100. That is even the most flexible material that you can buy as an additive, and they're great because you can add them in and have that flexibility come back. But the problem is the properties have now changed on that print. So let's say I have a bottle of resin up here. It's the LV250. Its heat deflection temperature is around 320 degrees Celsius, I think it is, which is insanely high. But if I added in some flexibility, Tenacious, Sidekick, Flex, it's going to bring that heat deflection temperature down because I am adding in a new type of chemical on there. And that chemical might not be heat deflective. It might be heat reactive or heat, not heat resistant, or whatever. It might hold up a little bit, but then it'll start giving at some point. So again, resin is a little bit harder to understand of what you're going. But if you're just basically printing minor things and nothing of a usable part, then ABS resin should be perfectly fine for what you need. If you need something a little bit different, then you got to start looking into what type of resins that you need. So that's the major difference between them. Let's see here. So glad your knowledge is vast. Answers are tough to come across in this field. Absolutely are, and you can thank the lovely Autism for deep diving for that. So, but yeah, I tend to store a lot of miscellaneous information in my head, and if you're ever concerned about anything, what I've said, and you're like, that doesn't sound or seem right, do the research. Just search. Most of the information is there. It's just you have to decipher on the whole. What am I trying to say here? The verbiage that they use for certain things. So it's hard to decipher that, and it took me quite a while. It took me 3.5 years to try and figure out the difference between a standard resin, an ABS resin, a nylon resin, an ABS-like resin. There tends to be a specific thing. So if I were to team them up with filaments, this is how I would do it. Standard resin is basically your PLA, and there is PLA resin out there that's basically PLA. Same type of stuff. It has some heat deflection on it, but it's not the greatest. It can melt over time. Might be slightly better in the heat than a PLA would be, but essentially they have the same type of properties where, they're meant for like knickknacks and household things. They're not meant to be on the outside. Then there's ABS-like resin. That's more like PETG. So it has a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more hardness, has a little bit temperature influx, so that way it can be outside in temperatures. So things like that. Then you have a nylon resin. That's more like ABS, where it's very, very strong, but it's hard. And trying to get things to use with it are not very usable. If somebody has printed with ABS, you know that it's very hard to get prints to get together with ABS, just because of the way that they have to bond together and everything. It's very hard to utilize that. So, and the same thing goes for like specialty type resins. So you have glow in the dark. That's essentially the same as glow in the dark filament. Those are the same things. You have your metal type filaments that you, well, not metal, but you have your silk filaments. Well, that's like the resins that you add mica powder in. While the mica powder may seem like it works okay, you're essentially bringing down the bonding ability of the resin to not work as well, unless you have a laser system. That's a different story, but yeah. Sounds good. Have a new resin printer at school and looking to order some resin for it. So if you want a really, really good resin to start with, look up 3DRS. They are fairly local to me. They are a US brand resin company, and they make some pretty good resins, and they can even work with you to design specific resins for your needs. So if you need to make parts for something, they can basically tell you, hey, this is the type of resin that you need. We can formulate it in this way and get it out there. So there's also linear equations to figure out what the new heat deflection would be. Exactly. So there's a whole slew of things that you can get into that I don't know 100% on the understanding of that. And I've only briefly gone into the HDT stuff, the heat deflection temperature stuff, or heat resistant resins to understand that. So even that, I'm kind of walking on eggshells telling you the information about that. So at least for that, I would just kind of do some research out of anything. Don't take my word for it 100% because I'm still learning the ins and outs of that and how it is, and understanding, there's ways that people market things that are not right. So what's up, man? How's it going, man? What's up, Dud V2? How's it going? I've been printing parts for my Jeeps and PETG. Do you have a recommended for resin at all? They don't make it easy. Correct. A nylon resin, try that out, see how it goes. But if you want something more like a PETG, look at something with a higher heat deflection temperature. That might be a little bit better for you. Like the LV250 from Frozen, that might be pretty good. Something that has a little bit of heat deflection, but not like insane. So just kind of look at that. I guess for me, hearing someone who knows makes me sense than me reading unknown. Exactly. And that's the thing with resin, it is kind of a vastly different area to understand everything. So I am talking on and on about this. We are at an hour and 38 minutes in. Usually I try and have these live streams go for at least an hour and a half. I don't want to go over the 2-hour mark because that's kind of going way over. But essentially, the printer's working. I'm going to pause it and see if I can try and see the print here. Let's see if it lifts up. All right, we do have a print on there. I don't know if it'll print because I paused it now, but it's printing. That's a pretty big print, too. It's taking up a good portion of the build plate. All right, so we're about 34% into this print. We're going to let it go overnight, and I will post up the results. You guys will probably see some videos here on TikTok and on other social media platforms. I'll probably post it up in the Geeetech groups as well. But yeah, so far so good. Again, if you guys are looking to get into resin printing on a budget, I do highly suggest looking into this printer. Again, while it may not be the best and the newest technology out there, for the price that you are paying for this to get into resin printing, essentially a resin printer and a couple bottles of resin, you got yourself into resin printing for less than $200. Like, that's a really, really good deal, no matter which way you look at it, because it gets your feet wet. You're not spending a huge amount of money. and you end up not liking it. And it is a very compact system, so it can literally fit anywhere that you need it. So again, for $100 US, and with shipping, it's 115 total, give or take. That's not too bad. But again, it's meant for people who are looking to get into resin printing and not spending a huge amount of money, and people who have a very small area to work with, and they want to print something but not, have a terrible resolution on it. Like, yes, obviously this is older tech in my eyes. It's still going to print and give you great results regardless of what's being printed on it. I printed with these printers for years, and they have produced amazing prints over the years. So this will definitely not be any different, I guarantee it. But again, we will post up the results of this print once it's finished. We're about, so it said 2 hours and 52 minutes. We're an hour and 10 minutes in, and 2 hours and 3 minutes to go. So looks like we're going to be a little bit over that estimated time, which is normal because usually you have to dial that stuff in on uUbox to let you know, hey, this is what it is. So they do make a wash and cure as well. So there's several different options that you can buy. You can buy just the printer itself for $100, and shipping was like $12.97. So let's just call it $115. Or you can get the printer and 4 kilograms of resin, which is that's going to take you a long time to go through that. And it looks like it's transparent resin, which if you've never done transparent resin, it is the coolest thing that you could possibly print with. Like, amazing looking results off of that stuff. So you can get that printer with 4 bottles of resin for $159, and I think shipping is the same price. Let's see here. Let's see if I can just double check before I start putting my foot in my mouth. So shipping's a little bit more. It's $22 essentially. So for $170, $80, for $180, you get a printer and 4 kilograms of resin. That's ridiculous. Or you can get the printer and the wash and cure for $200, add on a bottle of resin for $25, and that's so for less than $250, you basically got yourself a resin printing setup right out of the box. That's pretty good. And I will tell you, I have utilized their wash and cure system, and their wash and cure is probably one of the better ones out there. My only gripe with the first generation was the wash bucket didn't have a lid on it. And I believe these GCW02, which is version 2, does have a bucket on it, if I'm not mistaken. So let me check that before I put my foot in my mouth. Where can we find that? Let's go to wash and cure. I believe that's one of the upgrades that they did to it. The reason why I say theirs was a little bit better for like the AnyCubic Wash and Cure 2.0 is they actually have an LED light that sticks up from the bottom, so it cures the bottom of the print as well. Curing mode, washing mode. Okay. So it looks like it's got a customized impeller. That. Okay. A little bit better screen. So I'm not 100% sure that it has a lid on it, but I thought it did. I thought that was one of the things that they changed because I told them about it. But either way, it's a very good system to utilize regardless. So I would definitely look into it. So the Plus has a lid. They have a Wash and Cure Plus. Geeetech has a Wash and Cure Plus. Are you talking about the AnyCubic? AnyCubic has a cover on it. They have a lid for their wash on both of theirs, the 2.0 and the Wash and Cure Plus. Okay. No, so it looks like it doesn't have a cover. So just be mindful of that. It does not have a cover on their wash bucket, from what it looks like. So unless somebody stands corrected on me, um, I'll leave that up to you to decide on whether or not that's a good purchase. But if you are going to purchase it, just be careful with the wash. So, you see my new toy? I have not. No, I have not. I'll be signing off here in a second. So if you guys are going live, I'll be on. Any recommendations on wash and cure for larger prints like the Galaxy One Apex? So as of right now, there's nothing on the market that you could readily get right now anywhere that can utilize, at least for the wash, to wash printers that large. I'm excited to see the new AnyCubic Wash and Cure Max, but unfortunately it's made for the Max, so it does have a limitation of 300 millimeters, but it does fit the large build plate that it has on it. Then there's Frozen that's coming out with their new wash and their new cure for the new Mega S. And that, again, is going to be a smaller unit, but it will be able to hold a 15.6-inch build plate. So at least for the Mega, there's something out there. Now, the Apex and the E-Make are much bigger build plates. So for that, you're going to actually have to go through the company. And from what I've heard, Apex does have a wash and cure unit, and E-Make does have a cure unit, and they are working on a wash unit. And last I saw the E-Make wash unit, I was very impressed with it. So we'll have to see. That's really my next real purchase I would probably make is a wash and cure unit that is essentially all I want is just a wash and cure unit, just like my AnyCubic wash and cure that I've had here, but a much larger scale that can do larger printers. That's it. That's all. I don't care how much it costs me an IPA or denatured alcohol to fill. I don't care how much it costs. I need something like that at this point because I've been getting more orders for prints over 300 millimeters than I have anything else lately. Like I just had somebody ask for a 15-inch print yesterday. So it's like, okay, I got to print this. 15 inches is like 300 and some odd millimeter. I can't think off the top of my head, but it's over 300 millimeters. And so that seems to be the consistent thing nowadays, is because everybody sees I have large resin printers now, and they're just like, hey, I need this done. Hey, I need that done. Hey, I need this done. And the M3 Max has literally gotten no love because I haven't needed to use its ability to print. And the same goes for all the small printers. So at this point, there's no real need for me to have any of the smaller printers anymore. Like I might keep one of them around, but for the most part, I haven't used them in quite some time. So, so they're just kind of sitting here collecting dust. And on top of it, the newer printers, they work all the time. So, or the big printers. So it's just kind of like the smaller printers, they're kind of like the budget printers. And I don't really need them too much. But anyway, I'm going to stop rambling on. It's almost 2 hours into this live stream. Again, because Geeetech sent us 2 of these printers, I am going to give one of these away. I will have to think about how we're going to be doing that, but definitely look forward to that. And we'll probably end up getting this one and giving it away as well, because as I've stated earlier in the video, this is technically a paid for advertising for them. They did pay for me to do this unboxing and then do the review on this. So So I can't really sell these as payment because I've gotten payment for this video. So so yeah, I just wanted to put that out there in all clarity that this was a paid for advertisement type thing. But again, as I've stated several times in the past, no matter what exchange hands from me or them, I always remain true and 100% to what needs to be said and what people need to ask for. So whether they like it or not, they're going to get my true opinion. So that it is what it is. And as long as they're okay with that, then we'll move ahead. But yeah, it's definitely going to remain that way. So what's up, Chris? How's it going? So with that, we're going to end up ending the live stream. Again, keep an eye out for the pictures and video on this finished print. Probably be up sometime tomorrow night once I get back to it. And yeah, you guys get to see what cool stuff we printed on this. Like I said, I printed the dragon on there because I mean it looks way too good not to. So yeah, but that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the live stream, and if you got any questions about the printer, please feel free to reach out to me, and we'll get you situated. But if you're looking for resin printing, this is going to be a really good budget resin printer. Again, it's only $100 with $15 shipping at the max, at least in the US, and that's pretty good for what you're getting into. So if you're looking to get into resin printing, you can easily get a wash and cure with a bottle of resin for less than $250. It can't be beat by anybody. And yes, while it is older technology, it's minimalistic to those who are just getting into resin printing. Because when you pull a print off of this for the first time, you're just going to be mind blown. So thank you, Matt. Have a good night. We'll catch you again soon. Yeah, so for those who are on the other platforms, I probably will be on TikTok later. So just be aware that I will definitely be there. And you guys can chat with me over on TikTok if you want. Check out everything. So, but I thank you all for stopping in and chit-chatting. And yeah, until next time, guys.